Hey guys, I want to thank you for joining us for this crazy experiment we're doing. Well, I guess the video recording is a bit of an experiment for me. I haven't recorded off my screen in a long time off my Cintiq. So it took me a while to figure out how to do this. Hopefully this is working and you can hear my voice okay. Anyway, for this arc of Murder Inc., we decided to do a 6-cover spread. Something I've never done before. I've done a 3-cover spread, or maybe it was 4. It's for The Incredibles. But this is the first time we're taking on a big project like this. I'm going to do it digitally, even though I would have loved to have done this analog, but just for multiple reasons, it would be easier to do this digitally. And so I'm going to share my process with you, show you all the tricks, going to show you all of my thought process, going to show completely behind the curtain, um, and just explain to you everything I'm doing, give you my thought process from the layouts to how I'm using photo reference to how I'm drawing and redrawing and moving things around. One of the first things I guess to talk about is in order to do this cover, we didn't want to simply do, um, just 6 images that kind of butted up next to each other. I really wanted to tell a story. So, and a story that moved from left to right. Uh, so what I did was it's about Jagger, and the first idea I had was that she's firing a shot that goes from the first issue all the way across to the final issue, and that bullet shot is going to carry over it a cityscape, in the cityscape of New York, of LA, of Rome, and different places that they'll be. Sometimes that shot's going to go across people's heads and sort of cut them off, just sort of indicate that they're gonna get it. Other times they'll be overlapping that shot, and it'll all sort of depend. And a bunch of these elements here aren't even going to make the page. So this is the basic concept. Jagger shoots her gun while standing in front of a one-up poster that has Valentine on it, and we go across the issues. Each issue reflects what's going on in the inside. So let's talk about this. This was a big issue, a big puzzle for me anyway. Typically on your first cover or any cover you want, and this is always a big note from Brian, which is to engage the reader. So you have your character speaking or looking directly at you, at the reader, to engage them. Here I went from left to right because of this image. I was really, really happy with her figure. Ultimately, we decided to change it. So this isn't the final figure, but I wanted to show you first some of my processes and how I use photo reference. So let me see if I can find the right layer for this. All right, yeah, so here's Jagger. Here's this final drawing of Jagger that I have. Not final, but I would go into inks right from here. But I built this Jagger out of, there's different ways I'll use photo reference. I will use photo reference on the side of something next to it and look at it and use those bits of information to help me build the character, or I'll trace it. When I trace it, I make sure to trace over it in my own style with my own sensor proportions so that I'm not a slave to the drawing anyway, but that the drawing is mine, and I'm using the photo, whatever I'm tracing, almost like a template, like a circle template or so. So you can see underneath here, there's photo reference that I have. And some of this photo reference I'm going to link below. I don't have this particular one. This is a picture that I had somewhere. Let's see if I can find the original. Well, I think this is pretty close to the original. And you can see what I did was I had this photo and then I drew directly over it. God, I wish I could find. Yeah. Maybe this is it. Let's see. Sorry here. Weird. Yeah, we'll talk about that one a little bit. That might be in here somewhere. Let's see. This is what I build later. All right, I give up. I thought I kept a clean version of this so you could really see the figure underneath. The pose is the same but different. You can see the tilt of her head here. versus what I drew over it. You can see her arm proportion here. I don't draw realistic arms. So the first thing I did was I drew, my flat line here that goes straight across, emphasizing the left to right feeling. I don't know exactly how to explain why I make some of these choices to simplify things. Her torso is slightly more turned in mine in here. I think the big thing that I loved was the hip proportion, the hip movement here, that her leg is kind of coming forward, but she has her weight here, which is why I chose this particular photo. You can also see that I manipulate the photo some with the arm was in a different position here, and there were no guns in her hands or anything. Now from that photo, I built up to this, and it's sort of in between this shot and this shot, there was probably another layer or two. You can see some of it here, some of the looser ideas that I had when I first started. So there was a couple of more steps in between from here to here. I just didn't keep those layers until I straightened it out here, and then I got it into something that looks, obviously I used this drawing, or this photo, but I made it my own. Also, if you're familiar with where this reference is from, I did buy it out of a book. Anybody wants to hit me up with that, I'll be happy to plug that information into the description below. So for a while, we were really happy with this, but one of the big rules that we have for our covers is that the character should be looking forward. It should be looking forward at you and engaging the reader directly. So, but I still had this problem of I needed this bullet to go from left to right. How do I have somebody looking straight forward while also moving left to right? One thing I did here that was crazy is I didn't name most of my layers, which is insane considering how many layers I have here. So one of the things I want to point out is this photo reference that you'll see up here. This is from a great website. They make photo references almost specifically for comic book artists, whether you're doing crime or fantasy stuff. Used to be called Cintiq, and now it's called Dorka stock. I have, where did I put it? Oh, here you go. Yeah, you can even go over to a Dorka stock site, spend some money on this stuff. Like you can go to a Dorka stock's a DeviantArt page, and you'll see a bunch of free stuff that they put out. And yeah, you can grab screenshots or use whatever they give for free, but they put a lot of work into this stuff. Sometimes they're dangling from harnesses and doing all kinds of crazy stuff. I buy stuff from them regularly. Just drop up a couple bucks and get yourself some reference, and pay these people because they're doing God's work as far as I'm concerned, and you'll see why. And I've used this particular set of photo references quite a bit and plugged it in my social media stuff from time to time. So go and check this out. In fact, I've used this particular shot once before in Murder Inc. And this felt right, like the first thing that I was thinking of, but I've already kind of used this shot, and I was still looking for what exactly the vibe is going to be for this cover. So in this case, instead of tracing the image, instead of tracing the photo, I just took the shot of the photo and put it up here. And then on another layer, I just started to sketch away. Where am I on here? I gotta show you how I got to there. Okay, so one of the first things I did is I just did this very loose sketch here, which had the idea of she's still looking at us. This is her Jagger looking straight at us, and the gun going this way, and then another gun in this hand. So I figure she's shooting at us and engaging us while facing this way, sending the bullet from left to right, going across all covers. So I started with that, but I still felt like it was wonky. I did trace this hand from her hand up here, but very loosely. If you put this over here, the thing that I wanted to capture is the sense of her forearm and shoulder. I'm not being specific with the fingers at all. You can see they're in different positions and stuff. I'm just getting a sense of the form and shape and how does how can you capture the arms without it just being a circle on top of a circle? It's really tricky. I was also trying a shot of her holding it down low, like just kind of shooting from her hip. And I think eventually between the two, I decided that I liked this shot up here, so I started to build this shot. Yeah, I built this shot. There's a couple of stages in between. You can see the lightness underneath of different figure work that I was trying out with her. And at the end, I was really, really happy with this. But I realized it broke one of my other sort of cardinal rules for a cover, or for all images in comics. And this drives me and my wife Takisoma crazy. Your eye, when you're reading stuff, moves from left to right. It always moves from left to right. So subconsciously, you're thinking that movement is going to happen from left to right. Now, of course, this is a rule we can break, but generally we like to stick with it. That action will move on the cover from left to right. So I had to rebuild this sketch again. Get rid of that. To flip her over. And I couldn't simply flip her over because of the way that the body turns. It's a whole thing. So basically I had to, like, you can kind of see the difference between the shoulders here. Actually, the best thing I did here, let me just flip this over. Edit, transform, flip horizontal. Okay. And then here's, uh-oh. Okay. And then here's the shot that I ended up with. So I couldn't simply flip it over. I had to move her arms around as well. Oops. Because with this shot, she is now shooting the wrong way. But I mean, I love the feeling, the flow. You can see her moving left to right. But I did have to switch around her arms. And you can't simply just move her arms around because now with this arm coming out straight and this arm, or this arm coming out straight and this arm going that way, it's going to affect her torso a bit. It's going to affect the center of her chest. So I had to kind of rework it. And the way that I did was, the way that I reworked it was I actually just trimmed off her arm from this side and swapped them. And then I had to adjust, you can see here where it's a little bit later, I had to adjust where the center of her chest was and how that comes down into her hip area. So let me get rid of him. So that problem is solved. So now this is the image. So we went from, where did we go? So we went from this. I still really like that. I mean, that's pretty, right? It's just pretty. But it's not as engaging as the character looking right at you. I might still play around with the size too. I don't know. I like seeing her foot here. I like the full figure of her. It'd be kind of neat. Let's see. Let's try this out. Keep her gun still up in that same area. Just bigger like this. I don't know. I like the idea of it, but like she feels more impactful like the first version. That because her figure is larger. Whoops, I didn't want to do that. But it loses something in the composition. I think I also really like this area here. Like this describes a lot. I don't know what. It's just in the composition. Creating these spaces here and creating a space here that both feel very much like they belong to this spread. It feels like this is going to make your eyes move. Both of her running, and you get this full sense of her body and the body movement, but even the empty space here. But it won't be totally empty because in the background is going to be let me label this. Watch this. Valentine cover 1. there is this FBI cover. All right. So yeah, this is just a FBI wanted sign that I pulled off of ye old internets. And here's, where did I put him? No, here's Valentine. Sorry. There's so many layers here, I lost it. Okay, so I'm going to move Valentine over into here, into the wanted poster. Now, the wanted poster, most of it, I'm actually going to build in Photoshop. I'm not too comfortable using lettering right now in Clip Studio, which I'm working in. So I'm going to build this later. So, all right, so there we go. I mean, this will have, I mean, Jagger and Valentine's on the wanted poster. Maybe we'll see Jagger back here. I'm not sure. I'll play around with that later. There's going to have all of the text down below about weight and size and all the kind of stuff that you would typically see in a wanted poster. What else are we? Let me get rid of some of this stuff here. All right, there we go. You can also see that I took the Murder Inc. logo and I placed it up here along the top. And these are just to give me an idea of like how much space that I have and how much space to leave below it. You can also see the marks here are not correct. There we go. Now you can see the crop marks better. And I kept these super loose because these were a lot of work to do. So in case we need to wildly rearrange stuff, I just kept it super loose, almost stick figures. Right now, we're just going to concentrate on this issue 1 cover. And I think this is where the first video is going to stop. I just wanted to give you a walkthrough of what we're going to do overall, a little bit how I use photo reference. The photo reference I'm going to use up here for these statues and angels. I'm going to do a similar thing where I'm not going to trace it out exactly. I'm going to draw myself on top of it, but I wanted the reference right there. I'll show you as I ink her figure and build these characters, and we're going to have some fun. So I think that's the beginning of our Murder Inc. 6-issue cover spread. And check out the description below for some of the photo reference I'm using, and I'll put in some notes about what program I'm using and social media and all that. And if you have any questions, just post below. I'll do my best to answer, and we'll be doing more of these. Thanks.